Hello everyone, my name is Olivia and I am a first year photography student at UCA Farnham, and today I'm going to be filming a video about my experience living in private accommodation as a fresher or first year student. So the first thing that I would say to do is make sure that you are looking for accommodation pretty early on. I probably left it a little bit later than I should have. I didn't leave it extremely late. There were still people, like quite a few months after me, asking about accommodation, looking for accommodation. So I was probably looking around March, April, May sort of time, which I would say is sort of a good time to look because so is everybody else. But I was actually the last person to get the last room in the house that I'm in right now, which meant that obviously everybody before me was looking earlier on. Obviously, if you are coming straight from A-levels, it's hard because you don't know if you're going to get the grades. A lot of the people on my course or the people that I live with are older than me, so they'd already kind of got the qualifications and they already knew that they were coming here, so it made looking for accommodation easy, whereas I didn't know if I was going to end up getting the grades to come to this university, so it was kind of a bit of a stress. But I would say definitely look, because you want to have all your options open. You want to make sure that you're not stressing last minute nearer to results date and you still haven't found anywhere. As well as looking early, obviously keep looking out for when the dorm accommodation application comes out, because you just want to go straight in for that. I applied for staying in dorms as well as looking for private accommodation just so that I covered all my bases, and it was just easier and less stress because I'd known that I've done everything in my power to try and find somewhere. The next thing is be sure to add yourself into any group chats or message people so that they can add you into any group chats, because I think that was one of the easiest and most efficient things that I could have done whilst looking for private accommodation. It's mostly always done on Facebook. I was only really in Facebook groups and Facebook Messenger group, and it was really helpful in finding people who were looking for someone to stay with them, or you know, for people grouping together to find a place together. And it was much less stress and it was much less daunting, which kind of leads me on to my next point in terms of, if you have found people that you can stay with, just really keep in contact with them, keep speaking to them over the summer, just kind of get to know everyone, because it can be a bit daunting meeting everybody for the first time because they're most likely going to be people that you've never met before. But obviously, if you are looking earlier on, keeping your options open is really, really important. And I'd say it's one of the main factors of looking for private accommodation. The next thing is you have to think about yourself as a person. If you know that you are somebody who gets pretty anxious about new situations, be sure to, you know, talk to everybody around you, discuss this, because it is a very, very big commitment and big thing to do. Going to university isn't, you know, for everybody, or definitely not living in private accommodation. For me, in my own personal experience, I found it quite an enjoyable experience. Obviously it was very emotional, and like the day I actually moved out and moved here for the first time, if other people can come down and help move you in when it comes to the time, I think it would be really, really beneficial. But especially talk to all your friends or your family, or even anybody that can support you. Talk with any accommodation services if you are a kind of person that gets a bit stressed and anxious, because it is a very daunting experience, and talking to people is probably the best thing that you can do. Another thing I would like to touch on is the fact that being back at home, I had a lot of my friends who were going to big city universities and they were all staying in dorms because there was enough accommodation for that, especially as first years, and it's normally second and third year that you go and stay in your own private accommodation. So in terms of being the only one who was living in private accommodation compared to everybody else who was going into dorms, I sometimes thought, am I missing out? Am I not going to have the same university experience because I'm not in a dorm? But I completely should not have thought those things. So if you do worry about being, you know, the only one who's not going to have the same as everybody else, you can still make those experiences. But yeah, I would say don't put too many thoughts into your head about whether you're going to be missing out, because you're still going to be getting university experience. The next point of rent and bills, I would say in terms of moving, that is what I was most stressed about, because I knew everything would be in my name and I would have to have the responsibility of paying my rent on time, making sure that my bills went out on standing order, basically setting up all the things I needed in order to be very organised, very efficient when it came to paying for the things that needed to be paid. But yeah, having those things in my name did really stress me out. But I talked with my parents, I went through all the paperwork with them, I discussed everything with them. So whether you're going to speak to a guardian or a parent, I would really suggest talking to somebody, because it can feel a bit, you know, claustrophobic and a bit stressful when it's something that you've never really done before. Like, I've never had to do anything to do with bills, so I would definitely say that was a bit more of a stress for me when it came to moving. Obviously, in terms of what I know from my experience, I can only talk for the Farnham campus. And in terms of private accommodation, there are places like Student Tenant, which are really, really helpful in looking for places in the area that you wish to study. The accommodation services of each campus are so helpful. You can go on the website and email them, you can send them a phone call, or if you're on a tour of the uni when you come for an open day, they're always open, so you can go in and ask them as many questions as you have. They'll have leaflets, brochures that will help kind of make the experience a bit less stressful if that is what you were looking for to do. But obviously, in terms of my private accommodation experience, I can only speak for the Farnham area. But yeah, if there is any questions or anything I haven't covered that you would like to ask in terms of accommodation, I would say if you are thinking about UCA, the accommodation services is a great place to ask any further questions if you have any, and just discuss with everybody around you. Make sure that you're talking with other students in group chats. Just any form of communication will help you out the most, and it would be the easiest thing that you could do when finding private accommodation. But other than that, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and that this video did help you. But yeah, being a fresher first year student in private accommodation has been great so far. I've really enjoyed myself. I think that it was a great thing for me to do. It was the easiest and best thing for me to do, and it just worked out. So yeah, I hope this was helpful for you, and we'll see you on the next one.